the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
Former Chief Justice Enidi Sani Ebekano, because she's been suspended. Her ladyship, Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tukonu, Eden responsible. Now, what do chirimo ewo the international space? Me hona ni hear me yipa. Several newsletters, several magazines, apeke story no. Ya omo ebo ho. Now, ubehuno views from international lawyers. Ya omo constitute to association bit said the World Association of Lawyers in Adia. Omo do manu atum. Now the dominant question, yeah, the international space omo bisane say, on what grounds and at this 5-member committee chaired by Justice Gabriel Pauman Ejina so Eddie established a prima facie case against her ladyship Justice Gertrude Tukon. Because Osha responser Chief Justice former Eddie Abeya Eddie Pano Mujina so they established a prima facie case. Some sebe questions are international media space no. Lawyers a kuku damni adi ebusa mesumi busa bi no. To hear the Reuters magazine a capture this story because so many di actually yepa since enra news no ba bonten about the suspension ye ne ono so the responsible to dwan DWTV a cover this news item na ye her response no nei in fact a sharp contrast of ideas eba in the international media space. The response is addressed to His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama. I say, Your Excellency, responses to charges in petition for the removal of the Honorable Chief Justice. I respectfully set out my responses below. Now, we move straight into the allegations and the response. Former Chief Justice provided a very, very, very interesting evidence-based response. One, Chief Justice Chirima, former Chief Justice, her ladyship Chirima, first petitioner. Ya na sa first petitioner your friend Daniel Ofori allege say on no Chief Justice misappropriate the sum of 261,800 cedis of public funds for ono ne private foreign travel with Okunu Mr. Francis Tukon and ne babai Miss Edem Tukon. When according to Nipa Oyes allegations, neither Okunu nor Neba Ban was entitled to have their travel paid for out of the funds of the Judicial Service of Ghana. This was one of the allegations. Now, the humble response of her ladyship, Justice Gertrude Isaba Araba Tukonu, say, someone Daniel Ofori did to Jay, it is an unfortunate lie, or it is an unfortunate untruth, and will provide the evidence. Will provide the evidence, no say. And you know, 2 holidays per Ghana mra hihye mu e wo ho e de ma Chief Justice in every year with travel expenses, that is hotel accommodation, and a per diem to be borne by the Judicial Service. Just a Judicial Service and a fasa 2 holidays for Chief Justice in every year, or more fast a whole eka. Yeah, travel expenses, hotel accommodation, any per diem. Yeah, according to Judicial Service in sa holidays ye capped at 14 days per round trip. After at every round trip no 14 days. This a Chief Justice ebe exhaust all these 2 holidays. No Judicial Service assession no. Each of the holidays a 14 days round trip. Yen to aso. And her ladyship as I provide exhibit your friend exhibit 2. Exhibit 2 yi a policy on foreign travels by head of the judiciary and superior court judges. Me ko tu Nsem-Pii must say the Chief Justice shall undertake unlimited official travels with either his or her spouse or any other family person of his or her choice in a year, fully funded by the judicial service. Way America, way her ladyship justice Esaba Araba Tukono Gertrude and Eka, but it is something that is enshrined in the Judicial Service Act concerning travels by the Chief Justice. Concerning travels by the Chief Justice. Yeah, a Chief Justice just or unlimited official travels with so your bar okunu or your bema ne yiri any ebusia mumu nipa baako or no Chief Justice no under or no Chief Justice na kasa prerogative to betuma ye ne ba obetuma ye ne wo faase. The rules didn't specify which family member should it be. Paragraph 10 or say, where the Chief Justice is accompanied by the spouse or any other family member, he or she shall travel on the same class of air ticket as the Chief Justice and shall be paid the equivalent of half the per diem paid to the Chief Justice. This has been the policy of the Judicial Service since 2010 as amended in 2019. And now, her ladyship, a producer, the exhibit. Exhibit D04, a response to audit observation provided by the Judicial Secretary to auditors who sought clarification on the expenditure on the ticket purchased for my husband and daughter during my 2 holidays in 2023. The Judicial Secretary clarified that as Chief Justice, I opted to utilize the authorization in paragraph 9 and paragraph 10 of the travel policy to travel with my spouse and my daughter during my 2 holidays taken in September 2023. Pursuant to the conditions of appointment of the Chief Justice. In view of this option, there was no infraction occasioned when I opted to travel for my 2 holidays with my spouse on one occasion and my daughter on the second occasion. The response to observation 1 and response to observation 2 of Exhibit D04 provide explanation on expenditure on ticket for my husband and daughter that petitioner has unfortunately described as misappropriation of public funds by the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice say, said the Shishayanitie our judicial services Shishimono, Sabapepe no diso, on the first holiday travel, on no crew nekoye, on the second holiday travel, on the band nekoye, and all these are stipulated in the right of the Chief Justice to travel. Yeah, emrana kan pefe se otumi di okunu eni busuani baako ye betumi aye ba betumi aye ofase betumi aye banana odene kɔ ya odene kɔ a ticket ya ekura Chief Justice na odi tu kwan the same ticket ni ye provide e dia ma say di pay a omo kan ho ma na tu kwan na fa per diem ne de per diem a Chief Justice beje no say nipa mienu okunu ene ne ba no so omo kɔ bia omo je half of the per diem ba bia ni ho emrana ka say oni ho kwan say odi okunu anane ba etu kwan on the taking of the Judicial Council. Enya sa na mranti. Enti se obi petition twere sa asem yi. Na yetumi gina so say ye dia suspend the Chief Justice dia. Any emra ben and the 5-member committee ejina so other than emra wo judicial service mu to establish a prima facie case against her ladyship, Justice Gertrude Isaba Eraba Arabatuko. Ejino mu jina so. Yentoaso. Response on page 3 of Exhibit D04 further confirms that contrary to the unfortunate allegation that I failed to retire interest of $14,000 given to me from any travel, I spent an amount of $4,411 of the said interest and retired the remaining $9,588.20. I also attach here Exhibit D05 in further proof of the retirement of that interest on 14th of September 2023 on my second day at work after the surgery. And the petitioner accused Chief Justice say, Okwa otu kwan wiye ye no sika na aka eyo $14,000 na wan fama. Chief Justice former Yemame Gertrude esan se oye maame a oye no kwafo na oni atro na oni mrenti wasa provide evidence kire say travel na okoye no out of that 14,000 impressed the man or spending just 4,411 the ticket accommodation the ODD BBR balance of 9,588 kaya crown or sign the or minus sika nyina sa brɛ ya eda or this sika no brɛ 14th September 2023 on the second day at work after the journey ya will provide the evidence of same. It is our subject that no for kind enye no kore. So, on what grounds, again I ask, was a prima facie case established against Yemame Gertrude Isaba Arabatuko Yentoaso? In September 2023, I fell ill from exhaustion when I arrived in Arusha and had to return to Ghana a day early in order to ensure that I was able to have one full day to journey to Cape Coast for the annual conference of the Ghana Bar Association. This led to a change and a rerouting of my return journey to Ghana through Ethiopian Airline. Page 4 of Exhibit D04 provides information on this. It is therefore unfortunate that the petitioner, an outsider to the records of judicial service, should create the wrong presentation of this expenditure used for the purchase of tickets for the Chief Justice. I wish to state that as Chief Justice, I neither purchased travel tickets nor determined the per diem issued to me or issued to the aides, security, or persons who are required to travel with me. Neither do I authorize the per diem given to me for any journey. The said per diem is determined in accordance with rates set by the Article 71 Committee on Emolument for the Chief Justice of the Republic. It is also administered by the Judicial Secretary and the Director of Finance and of the Judicial Service. I am therefore incapable of misappropriating any public funds with respect to a ticket purchased for me or the person accompanying me on a journey or the per diem issued. Indeed, I am not signatory to any account and do not have access to the accounts of the Judicial Service. And I am her ladyship, Justice Gertrude Echirimu. And since some petition and the case one who misappropriating public funds in Yadi. 1. Per diem or de etu kwan. And you only determine. According to Article 71 on the emolument, it is not the Chief Justice that determines per diem on her travels or on his travels. It is already stipulated by the Committee on a Monument in Article 71. Depending on the rates, current rate. 2, I don't know the total tickets. Everything is done by the Judicial Secretary. Onukrano onya signatory to the Judicial Service account. Only access to the Judicial Service account. No akoye musika di akoye bibi a wope. Every single activity with regards to funding of travels by the Chief Justice is administered to by Judicial Secretary and a Director of Finance for the Judicial Service. On the Diana so what one near the Abase. Mame. Holidays are control now one. Take it in ye. O pay DM ye. O mo no ka one to kwano. Saying almost so say as simple as that. The year then and I allegation did Tiano say or misappropriate public funds. Where the said individual does not even have access to those public funds. How do you misappropriate a fund you don't have access to? How does someone misappropriate a fund that Sandy Panuni access to? Oh my, oh my. Now, 4th to 7th allegations, according to her ladyship, Justice Gertrude Chirima, you say, unlawful tampering with court records. These allegations aver that as a Chief Justice, I interfered with judicial proceedings in the case of the Republic versus sk0cks in criminal division. Nothing can be further from the truth. On July 28, 2023, I received an unusual report that the judge in charge of Criminal Division 3 had lost digitally created records of proceedings in the said case. I immediately went with the Judicial Secretary and Director of ICT to the court to understand the issue and found that the problem was even more bizarre. The court records were reported to have been digitally changed. After listening to the judge, I met with all ICT staff in the auditorium and addressed them on the unfortunate situation that had happened and sought their assistance in resolving the problem. Thereafter, I directed an investigation to be conducted into the incident. Report from National Signals Bureau, the national institution with capability to investigate the nature of the incident. In their final report on the incident by the committee appointed by the Judicial Service to investigate the role of the staff members who were identified as likely to have contributed to the breach in security of the court records in Exhibit D06. The petitioner repeatedly complains that as Chief Justice, I was personally involved in the resolution of the incident and conducted myself unconstitutionally by not involving the accused person and his lawyers in the resolution of the incident involving court proceedings. And that is an unfortunate misconception. As head of the judiciary and judicial service, I had no duty to interact with the lawyer of the accused person whose records had been changed within the court's computers. Further, apart from the first day when I went to the court in the law court complex on receipt of the report, I left all other processes to relevant officers. I had no personal contact with the staff named in all the reports. Included is Exhibit D08. That is all records on the incident. Mr. Biden, the gentleman on whose behalf the petitioner seems to be acting, remains a Deputy Director of Judicial Service, RB, on transfer from the e-justice systems in the law court complex. The petitioner complains that I transferred execution proceedings in the case of Daniel Ofori versus Ecobank Ghana Limited from the Court of Justice Lodo, that is Commercial Court 7, to the Court of Justice Ellen Mreku, General Jurisdiction Court 8, in order to achieve an unnamed result that I could not achieve when sitting in the Supreme Court as a member of the panel in Daniel Ofori versus Ecobank case. He also claims that I abused the power of the Chief Justice to transfer cases by ordering the transfer of a suit titled Ecobank versus Daniel Ofori, pending before Justice Buensi, to the Court of Justice Mreku simply because I did not like an earlier decision of Justice Buensi. Your Excellency, both of these accusations are curious and unfortunate. It is important to clarify that the petitioner in the instant petition is party named in various suits. Petitioner Daniel Ofori no no church and some defa Chief Justice no kekan someone nei evidence be akra ni mo yetumi agina so establish a prima facie case say they suspend Chief Justice. Ono ankasa no owo cases against Ecobank. Ono ankasa. He is a petitioner in just more than 3 cases against Ecobank. Ya ankwama and our no gina say ankwama no ntino. Chief Justice ne share chinti ankwama. Ya want to me and provide any evidence to buttress those clips. It is very, very sad. It is a very sad day for an arm of government as a judiciary to be subjected to such ridicule because of political parochial interest. Also, where responsible, the learned Chief Justice, her ladyship, Gertrude Isaba Arabatu Konodia Bay. Now we share in somewhere petitioners each church ya to say enyina so bia ni mu a na areho. Ti ensem bi sei ena nei ama the international community in fact various reactions eba ebusa question say if and someone her leadership can ya will provide the evidence sanity a die potipa and at this 5-member committee to be so establish a prima facie case. That is the problem. A die poti your guess is as good as mine.